continuing my tour of the Jess Franco Portuguese film locations. Today we're standing outside the Castro Guimaraes in Cascais. It was built in 1900, sitting directly on the Atlantic. It's one of the town's most famous historical buildings. Franco used this over and over again in his Portuguese productions in the 70s. But most Franco fans will recognize it as Castle Cagliostro from 1973's The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. This building reappears across multiple films, sometimes as a laboratory, sometimes as a convent.
Schwestern, ruft die Äbtissin! Seine Eminenz, der Inquisitor, ist da!
Architecture does a lot of the storytelling in Franco's world. We turn toward the Atlantic 180 degrees, and the coastline opens up. This is the Santa Marta Lighthouse. It can be seen in the main titles of Devil's Island Lovers. We continue up the street to the front of the building. And as we move here along this back path, I see some things I recognize. Beatrice Savon walks along this same path in The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. I'm taking a back way into the building because there's some things back here I wanted to show. There's some cool decaying stone posts and garden statues along the path. It's got great atmosphere. And so you get to the end of the path, we turn and see the Chapel of St. Sebastian, which many Franco fans will recognize. The chapel is closed, so we can't go inside. But taking a look at the outside, it looks almost exactly the same. We've got these cool blue and white azulejo tiles on the front wall. In one scene, an unknown actor sits here, framed against the surface. And just looking at the tile work, it's barely changed. It's kind of weathered in some spots, but there it is. Now, this main entrance is probably one of the most recognizable angles in all of Franco's films. This appears repeatedly across his Portuguese productions in the 70s. The clock tower and the tiled wall are used as an exterior in multiple films. The tile wall in particular, titled Dogma of the Immaculate Conception, it's a recurring visual marker. Inside, the space opens into a cloister built around a central fountain. This courtyard is featured in numerous Franco films, with little redressing. So I found out filming is not allowed inside the museum. You can only take photos, and there are guards all over to ensure you are not videoing. Fortunately, one of the staff members pointed me to the museum's official 3D virtual tour. That, combined with my still images, made it possible to match several interiors. If you want to check out the virtual 3D tour, the link is in the description. Now we're inside the main hall, and this room appears in several Franco films. This angle will line up with a shot from Love Letters of the Portuguese Man. moving over to this side of the hall, Franco stages another sequence here from Daughter of Dracula. Franco's able to shape the space into several different narratives. Here we move out to the balcony overlooking the water. This appears in the Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. But here's where Franco's sleight of hand comes in. When Howard Vernon steps through that doorway in the film, he isn't entering this room. Franco cuts to an interior shot filmed at the Fortaleza de Guincho, an entirely different location on the coast, I cover in a separate video. The transition is invisible. That quiet sleight of hand is part of Franco's magic. He isn't interested in architectural accuracy. He's interested in flow, mood, and movement. Franco himself appears here in Daughter of Dracula.
Autrefois par les cris d'angoisse et d'épouvante. Loi immuable et éternelle.
This grandfather clock, that is seen in Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. It was so great locating this. It's an English long case clock from London, late 17th century. This turns up again and again. But he was just working with the stuff that was around. He just used all the objects and furniture there in the museum. We turn around here, and we are in the reading of the will scene in Virgin Among the Living Dead.
Étude, par exemple, en 33, les délais sont annulés et il reste cependant un générique à accomplir.
Now we move into what's called the Yellow Room. It's covered in gold textured wallpaper, and the ceiling is patterned in clovers. These two paintings hang here permanently. Count Manuel Ignacio de Castro Guimarães, the man who built this house, and Maria Ana de Andrade de Castro Guimarães. They appear several times in Franco's universe, but are never talked about. They just sort of fold in without explanation. It's almost just part of his cinematic decor.
Docteur Seward, excusez-moi, mais l'inspecteur Tanner demande s'il peut vous parler.
We go down to the far end of the room, and we turn, and find ourselves at a familiar angle. In the film, you see a bronze nude in the foreground. She's no longer here. She's still in the museum. They just relocated her up to the second floor. We'll meet her in a minute. As Christina follows the sound of the piano, she turns into what is called the music room, or the Red Room. And in the corners is pipe organ that was built into this place, or around the time it was built, early 20th century. It's still intact and functional. This corner should feel familiar.
Pourquoi avez-vous fait cela? Pour rien.
And then this fireplace.
Ave morte, dormitur in mortem se salutant vanitas vanitatum.
This area shows up in Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun.
Der würde ihr gezeigt haben, was es heißt, seine Seele zu verlieren und mehr.
And again in Daughter of Dracula.
Pater Vinzenz ist nicht der fromme Mann, für den ihr ihn hieltet. Ich kann es kaum mit schicklichen Worten schildern.
We push past the music room and through the main hall and enter the dining room. This room becomes the centerpiece in A Virgin Among the Living Dead. Nearly every major gathering in Virgin happens here.
Bonjour, ma chère petite Christine. J'espère que tu as bien dormi.
We go outside this window and we see the tiled bench from Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun. Franco reuses and layers these locations, so this house becomes like a memory that keeps resurfacing. As I said before, there are guards in every room, so the furniture is strictly off limits. No sitting, no touching. What's really interesting is Franco and his crew freely engaged with all of the pieces in the museum, and actors handle them without hesitation. He has Britt Nichols open and close this 17th century cabinet that they would freak out if you touched now. You would get kicked out. He turned these museum pieces into working set dressing. He didn't really ask permission. I think he just did it. We turn towards the door and we find something that should look familiar. The stone spiral staircase that's used in Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein, and Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun. Franco loved vertical movement. He loved stairs, towers, and balconies. It's part of what gives his films a dreamlike instability. We climb the stairs up to this late Gothic portal into the second floor and arrive in what's known as the tea room. It's this small wood panel chamber that was used by Countess Guimarães for afternoon tea. It's amazing what Franco could make out of some of these rooms. Like a museum room becomes a cloister, or a drawing room, or a cell. Now we're entering the bedroom of Count Guimarães. It's still with its original 18th century bedding and furniture. Again, this is where Franco humorously just helped himself. They're lying under the bedspread, on the bedding, strictly off limits. In the film, there's the silver plaque that hangs above the bed. It's no longer there. It's still in the museum. We'll see it after we leave this room. From this angle, you can see how Franco composed shots, compressing the space, turning it from a domestic bedroom into something more ritualistic. One of the gifts of being here in person is finally getting to see the whole room. Paintings, this Damascus settee from the 18th century. So we leave the bedroom and head down the hallway and come to a series of glass cases. Inside is the plaque that originally hung above the bed. A chiseled silver plaque of Saint Veronica that was made in Lisbon around the 18th century. We pass through this gallery of paintings, several of which I recognize from Franco's Portuguese films. He would just use these rooms as they were, art and all. At the end of this long corridor is a very familiar figure, the bronze statue featured in many of Franco's films. It's titled Girl with Dove. It's French, early 20th century, sculpted by Henry Arnold. Jess was fascinated by the statue. She appears again and again throughout the Portuguese films. It's like running into an old friend. And from here, we climb the staircase up to the third floor. And this is the tower room. Franco used this space exactly as it was. At the far side of this room is what appears to be a tiny confessional. But inside it's actually a narrow staircase, which we climb. And at the top of the tower, the space opens up and we get a full view of Cascais in every direction. We step through several small doors at the top of the tower, each revealing another view. You can see the gardens and the ocean beyond, and the grounds below. You can also see this long stone wall that occurs along the waterfront. That was a location Franco returned to again and again in films like Cecilia and Voodoo Passion. It's really easy to see why Franco loved this place. All these locations are within 1 minute of each other. Via the virtual tour, we drop back down to the ground level, and we are back in the front of the building. And we are back to my good camera.
Viens, suis-moi. Tu vas pas croire ce que raconte ce vieux fou.
We move toward the side entrance. From here, we follow this path through the trees, away from the facade, and into the grounds. Tucked back here is the grave of Count Manuel de Castro Guimaraes, the man who built the castle, and later he donated it to the people of Cascais. From the grave we tilt up, the blue tile mural comes into view. This exact angle appears in the erotic rites of Frankenstein.
Pardonnez-moi, je suis le docteur Seward. Puis-je vous demander qui vous êtes?
Vera Frankenstein.
La fille du docteur?
Oui, et comme mon père, je suis médecin.
Then, we get a closer look at this Franciscan tile panel and Neo-Moorish fountain. We're now standing behind the Castro Guimarães in the narrow pathway along the back. This same stretch of path is where Carante's horse and carriage once moved through the trees. We continue down this trail. Even this goose pond is still here. I double back along the path to take one last look at the tower. It's amazing Franco's camera passed through here over 50 years ago, and it's all still here. I hope you enjoyed following along. Be sure to explore my other videos and my Jess Franco Portugal series. If you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe.